Let me paint you a picture of the galactic research station Prometheus, floating serenely in the Kepler sector like a metallic donut of scientific ambition. It's home to 47 different species, all working together in the name of knowledge and universal understanding. Or at least that's what the brochure says. In reality, it's more like a cosmic daycare center where everyone's afraid of the new kid. That new kid would be me. Dr. Marcus Webb, xenobiologist, coffee addict, and apparently the galaxy's most fascinating specimen, despite being the one doing the studying. You'd think after 3 years aboard this floating zoo, my colleagues would stop treating me like I might spontaneously combust or devour them whole. But no. Every morning I walk into the lab and watch 46 different species do their best impression of prey animals spotting a predator. Take Commander Vextall, for instance. 8 feet of scaled muscle and military precision, built like he could arm wrestle a supernova and win. Yet somehow, whenever I ask him to pass the sugar for my coffee, he approaches the dispenser like he's defusing a bomb. His species evolved from apex predators on a world where the trees literally tried to eat you, but apparently I'm the scary one, because I come from Earth, which the galactic community has deemed a Class 12 death world. I still don't know what Classes 1 through 11 look like, but apparently they involve less poisonous everything and fewer things with teeth. Then there's Dr. Kiranan, our head of xenobiology, and my direct supervisor. She's a Zephyrian, which means she looks like what would happen if a praying mantis got really into yoga and academic research. 6 arms, compound eyes, and a brain that processes information at roughly the speed of light. Brilliant scientist, terrible at understanding that humans don't actually bite first and ask questions later. She's been studying me almost as much as I've been studying everyone else, though she pretends it's coincidental. Last week I caught her taking detailed notes about my lunch habits. Apparently the fact that humans eat plants and animals in the same meal is, quote, fascinatingly barbaric. The irony isn't lost on me that I came here to study alien life only to become the primary subject of study myself. Every species has their theories about humans. The Corvani think we're dormant killing machines. The Thessians believe we're chaos incarnate. The Melody just hide whenever I enter a room, which is honestly kind of rude but probably the most sensible response. But today is special, because today they're bringing aboard something that has everyone more nervous than usual, and trust me, that's saying something. A live specimen from Xerion Prime, one of those delightfully hostile worlds where evolution apparently decided that everything needed more claws, fangs, and bad attitudes. The species in question is called a Nixarian stalker, and from what I've read in the briefings, it's basically a 6-legged cross between a tiger and your worst nightmare. The best part? They specifically requested the human xenobiologist to oversee the study. Apparently, when you need someone to handle a terrifying predator, you call in the species that everyone's already terrified of. The logic is flawless, really. So here I am, standing in Lab 7, watching what can only be described as the most elaborate safety theater in the history of the galaxy. Commander Vextall has deployed no fewer than 6 force field generators around a containment unit that's roughly the size of a small shuttle. Dr. Kiranan is operating 3 different scanning devices simultaneously while muttering calculations under her breath in what I'm pretty sure is a prayer to the Zephyrian goddess of not getting eaten. The security detail consists of 12 armed guards positioned at strategic points around the lab, all carrying weapons that could probably vaporize a small moon. For context, when they brought in those acid-spitting plants from the vegan collective last month, they used 2 guards and a fire extinguisher. Dr. Webb, Commander Vextall announces, his voice carrying that particular tone of someone who's convinced they're about to witness a gruesome death. The specimen will be released momentarily. Please maintain a safe distance of at least 50 meters. I glance around the lab. Vex, this entire lab is only 40 meters long. Then perhaps we should relocate to the cargo bay. For a baby? The silence that follows is deafening. Dr. Kiranan's compound eyes somehow manage to convey incredulous disbelief, which is honestly impressive, given that compound eyes usually just convey compoundness. Baby, she chittering says, all 6 arms gesticulating wildly. Dr. Webb, this specimen is a juvenile Nixarian stalker, apex predator of one of the most hostile worlds in the known galaxy. Its claws can slice through reinforced titanium, its bite force exceeds 12,000 pounds per square inch, and it's capable of leap striking from over 30 meters away. And how old is it? More silence. Vextall consults his datapad with the intensity of someone defusing a nuclear device. Approximately 4 months standard. 4 months. I nod slowly. So, a baby. Before anyone can stop me, I walk right up to the containment unit and peer through the transparent aluminum viewing port. Inside, huddled in the corner like it's trying to make itself as small as possible, is what I can only describe as the most adorable killing machine I've ever seen. Picture a tiger, right? Now give it 6 legs, make it roughly the size of a golden retriever, add some really impressive fangs, and cover it in fur that shifts between deep purple and silver depending on the light. Its eyes are this incredible amber color, and right now they are wide with what any idiot with half a brain could recognize as pure, unadulterated terror. "Oh, look at you," I say, completely ignoring the collective intake of breath from behind me. "You're scared out of your mind, aren't you, buddy?" The creature, which the crew has apparently nicknamed Razor, because of course they have, tilts its head at the sound of my voice. Its ears, which I notice are absolutely enormous and probably the cutest thing I've ever seen, perk up slightly. "Dr. Webb, please step back from the containment unit," Vextal says, and I can hear him checking his sidearm. The creature appears to be exhibiting pre-attack behavior. I look over my shoulder at him. Pre-attack behavior? It's cowering in the corner like someone's about to give it a bath. Exactly. Classic predator deception tactics. Right. Because obviously the first thing any apex predator thinks when confronted with a room full of armed guards and force fields is, I should probably pretend to be scared to lure them into a false sense of security. The tactical brilliance of a 4-month-old baby, everyone. The creature lets out a small sound, somewhere between a whimper and a chirp, and I watch 46 different species simultaneously reach for their weapons. Meanwhile, I'm standing here thinking that if this is what the galaxy considers a terrifying apex predator, I really need to show them some nature documentaries from Earth. Wait until they see what a honey badger can do. Now, what happens next is going to go down in station history as either the moment humanity proved its dominance over the galaxy's most feared creatures, or the day Dr. Marcus Webb lost his damn mind. I prefer the first interpretation, but I'm willing to accept that both might be true. "Computer, deactivate containment field," I say, because apparently I've decided that today is a good day to give Commander Vextal a heart attack. "Negative," Vextal barks immediately. "Computer, belay that order. Dr. Webb, step away from the containment unit immediately." "Vex, relax. Look at this thing. It's not dangerous, it's traumatized. Probably just been ripped away from its family and shipped halfway across the galaxy in a metal box. How would you feel?" "I would feel like maintaining the containment protocols," he roars, which is honestly the most emotion I've ever seen from him. But here's the thing about humans that the rest of the galaxy hasn't quite figured out yet. We're really, really good at reading body language. It comes from evolving alongside hundreds of other species on a world where everything wanted to eat everything else. You learn to tell the difference between, "I'm about to attack you," and "I'm scared and want my mommy" pretty quickly. Or, you become fertilizer. Dr. Kiranon is frantically working her scanners. Elevated stress hormones detected in the specimen, increased heart rate, defensive posturing. "Dr. Webb, this confirms aggressive intent." "Or," I say, reaching slowly for the manual release on the containment field, "it confirms that it's a frightened baby in a strange place surrounded by weird aliens." I hit the release. The collective gasp from the assembled crowd could probably power a small space station. Vextal draws his weapon. 3 guards faint. Dr. Kiranon makes a sound like a tea kettle having an existential crisis. And Razor? Razor takes one look around the room, spots me standing there with my hands in a non-threatening position, and does something that breaks the brains of everyone present. The allegedly galaxy-ending apex predator walks over to me and sits down. Not pounces, not stalks, not prepares to leap strike from 30 meters away. Sits, like a dog waiting for a treat. "Hello there, beautiful," I say softly, crouching down to its level. "That's better, isn't it? No more scary box." Razor tilts its head again, those enormous ears swiveling toward me like satellite dishes. Then, in a move that I'm pretty sure causes several species in the room to question their fundamental understanding of the universe, it walks right up to me and climbs into my lap. Now, I should mention that Razor isn't exactly small. It's about the size of a medium dog, with 6 legs and a tail that's probably 3 feet long. Getting climbed on by a Nixarian stalker is a bit like being hugged by a very affectionate and surprisingly heavy ottoman. But there I am, sitting cross-legged on the lab floor, with a purring death machine curled up in my lap like the galaxy's most dangerous house cat. "This is not possible," Dr. Kiranon whispers, all 6 arms frozen in mid-gesture. "This violates 17 different behavioral models and 3 laws of xenopsychology." "Computer, run full medical scans on Dr. Webb," Vextal orders, because obviously the only explanation for this situation is that I've been mind-controlled or drugged. Check for pheromone exposure, neural parasites, and hostile psychic influence. I look up at him while gently scratching behind Razor's ears, which causes the creature to make a sound like a freight train having a very good dream. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a baby that wants some comfort and recognizes that I'm not a threat. You are the apex predator species in the known galaxy, Vextal points out, as if I might have forgotten. Everything should be afraid of you. Yeah, well, apparently babies are too stupid to be afraid of the right things. Lucky for them, I happen to like babies. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I ended up being the first person in galactic history to successfully domesticate a Nexarian stalker, using nothing more than basic common sense and the apparently revolutionary concept of not being afraid of everything with teeth. What follows can only be described as the most elaborate display of academic overthinking I've ever witnessed, and I once attended a 3-day conference on the theoretical implications of quantum toast. Dr. Kiranan has deployed every scanning device in the lab, plus several she apparently borrowed from other departments without asking. She's got bioscanners, neural activity monitors, pheromone detectors, electromagnetic field analyzers, and what I'm pretty sure is a toaster she's repurposed into some kind of behavioral assessment tool. The cacophony of beeping, whirring, and general scientific noise would probably wake the dead, if the dead weren't currently napping in my lap. Initial hypothesis, she announces to her recording device, all 6 arms working simultaneously on different instruments. The human specimen has deployed previously unknown pheromone-based control mechanisms to subjugate the Nexarian stalker through chemical domination. Chemical domination? I ask, gently stroking Razor's fur. The little guy has apparently decided that my knee makes an excellent pillow and is purring so loudly that I'm worried he might achieve nuclear fusion. Kira, I took a shower this morning. The only chemicals I'm emitting are soap residue and mild exasperation. She ignores me completely, which is becoming a theme. Secondary hypothesis, the human has established alpha dominance through intimidation tactics too subtle for our instruments to detect. Commander Vextal, meanwhile, has positioned himself at what he clearly believes is a tactically advantageous distance, roughly halfway to the next solar system. He's got his sidearm drawn and is speaking into his comm device in hushed, urgent tones. I catch fragments like unprecedented breach of protocol and request immediate evacuation procedures, and my personal favorite, the human appears to have weaponized friendship. Oh, Vex, I call over to him. You do realize that if I wanted to hurt anyone in this room, a baby space tiger wouldn't exactly be my weapon of choice, right? I'd probably just use harsh language and a strongly worded email. Humans are known for their psychological warfare capabilities, he responds without lowering his weapon. This could be an elaborate deception. What kind of deception involves me sitting on the floor covered in alien fur for the past 20 minutes? Because if this is psychological warfare, I'm really bad at it. Dr. Kiranan suddenly makes an excited chittering sound that I've learned means she's either made a breakthrough or found something shiny. Fascinating. The creature's neural patterns show elevated levels of oxytocin, dopamine, and several bonding hormones we don't have names for yet. It appears to have imprinted on Dr. Webb as a parental figure. Congratulations, Dr. Webb, Vextal says with the tone of someone announcing a terminal diagnosis. You are now the legal guardian of a Class 5 apex predator. Class 5? Yesterday you told me it was a Class 12 Deathworld species. That's the planet classification. The species itself is only Class 5. What's Class 6? There's an uncomfortable pause. Humans, Vextal admits reluctantly. I blinked. We're a higher threat class than this thing? Significantly higher. Razor chooses this moment to roll onto his back in my lap, exposing his belly and making soft trilling sounds that I'm pretty sure translate to belly rubs, please. His 6 legs kick gently in the air and his tail does this little wagging thing that's probably the most adorable threat display in galactic history. This is unprecedented, Dr. Kiranan mutters, frantically taking notes. Apex predator species do not exhibit submissive behaviors. They do not seek comfort from other predators. They certainly do not present vulnerability displays to potential threats. Maybe that's because you've never tried not being threatening, I suggest, giving Razor the belly rubs he's clearly demanding. His purring somehow gets even louder and I swear I can feel the vibrations in my bones. Look, this isn't rocket science. Baby animals, regardless of species, have certain universal needs: food, safety, comfort, social interaction. Right now, I'm the only thing in this room that's not pointing a weapon at him or trying to scan his brainwaves. But the behavioral models clearly state Your behavioral models are based on adult specimens in hostile environments, I interrupt. Of course they're going to be aggressive. You're studying them under worst-case conditions and then acting surprised when they behave defensively. Dr. Kiranan pauses her note-taking, which is the academic equivalent of a record scratch. Are you suggesting that our entire understanding of Nixarian stalker behavior is fundamentally flawed? I'm suggesting that maybe, just maybe, if you want to understand how a species actually behaves, you should try not terrifying them first. The lab falls silent except for Razor's contented purring and the gentle hum of life support systems. It's the kind of silence that usually precedes either a major scientific breakthrough or a complete mental breakdown. Sometimes both. Computer, Dr. Kiranan says slowly. Cross-sector all previous Nixarian stalker behavioral studies with capture and containment methodologies. There's a pause as the computer processes the request. Then, analysis complete. 100% of behavioral studies were conducted on specimens captured via tranquilization, forcible restraint, or territorial invasion protocols. Another pause. So, I say conversationally, while Razor starts grooming my hand with a tongue that feels like sandpaper but with good intentions. Anyone want to revise those behavioral models? You know, there's a moment in every great scientific discovery when everything clicks into place, and suddenly the universe makes a little more sense. This is not one of those moments. This is one of those moments when the universe decides to grab science by the collar, shake it really hard, and laugh maniacally while everyone scrambles to figure out what just happened. Dr. Kiranan is staring at her instruments like they've personally betrayed her. Commander Vextal has lowered his weapon but keeps glancing at it like he's not entirely sure that was a good idea. And Razor has apparently decided that my sleeve is the most fascinating thing in the known galaxy and is trying to fit the entire cuff in his mouth. I don't understand, Dr. Kiranan says, and coming from someone whose species processes information at light speed, that's genuinely concerning. According to our xenobiological classifications, Nixarian stalkers should be exhibiting dominant behavioral patterns. They're apex predators. They should be predating. About that, I say, gently extracting my sleeve from Razor's determined chewing. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think they're actually apex predators. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear the station's artificial gravity humming. Excuse me? Vextal says in the tone of someone who's just been told that mathematics is actually optional. Think about it logically. Real apex predators don't usually travel in groups, right? They're territorial, aggressive, solitary. But according to your own files, Nixarian stalkers live in family units of 15 to 20 individuals. They cooperate in hunting, they share resources, and they have complex social hierarchies. I pause to redirect Razor's attention from my sleeve to a small laser pointer I keep in my pocket for exactly these kinds of situations. His eyes immediately lock onto the red dot with the kind of focus usually reserved for religious experiences. Plus, I continue, while Razor begins an elaborate stalking routine that involves a lot of wiggling and absolutely zero stealth. Look at this guy's behavior. He's not trying to establish dominance or claim territory. He's seeking social bonding and approval from a pack structure. Classic mid-tier pack hunter behavior. Dr. Kiranan's compound eyes somehow manage to convey the expression of someone whose entire worldview is crumbling. But the classification reports clearly state. The classification reports are written by species who've never encountered actual apex predators, I interrupt. You want to know what a real apex predator looks like? It doesn't purr, it doesn't seek approval, it doesn't climb into people's laps looking for belly rubs. It shows up, kills everything it wants to kill, and leaves. Razor pounces on the laser dot with all the lethal efficiency of a butterfly attacking a flower. His landing is less deadly strike and more adorable tumble, but he seems pleased with himself. Then what, Vextal asks slowly, is an actual apex predator? And this, friends, is the moment when I realize that I've accidentally stumbled into the kind of revelation that's going to keep xenobiologists arguing for the next century. You're looking at one, I say simply. The confused silence is palpable. Dr. Kiranan tilts her head in that way that means her brain is working overtime and coming up empty. I don't see any apex predators in this room, she says finally. Kira, I'm literally the only species in this room that every other species is instinctively afraid of. My planet is classified as a Class 12 death world not because of environmental hazards, but because everything on it is designed to kill everything else, and humans rose to the top of that food chain. We didn't just survive on Earth, We conquered it so thoroughly that we had to invent nature preserves to keep other species from going extinct. I watched the realization dawn on their faces like a really slow, really uncomfortable sunrise. Humans aren't just another species, I continue, scratching behind Razor's ears while he attempts to fit his entire head under my palm. We're what happens when evolution decides to create something so effective at predation that it gets bored with hunting and starts keeping other species as pets for entertainment. Vexthal's hand moves unconsciously back toward his weapon. But humans are so friendly? That's the scariest part, isn't it? We're friendly because we can afford to be. We're not threatened by anything in this room, this station, or, frankly, most of this galaxy. We keep other species as companions not because we need them, but because we like them. Do you know how apex that is? Dr. Kiranon makes a small choking sound. The bonding behavior, the pack mentality. Dr. Webb, are you suggesting that humans domesticate other species for psychological satisfaction? I'm not suggesting it, I'm stating it. Earth has dozens of species that we've completely altered through selective breeding just because we thought they'd be better companions that way. We took wolves, one of our planet's most successful predators, and turned them into pugs, for fun. Razor has apparently gotten bored with the laser pointer and has decided that Commander Vextal looks interesting. He starts walking toward the 8-foot-tall, heavily armed, military-trained reptilian with all the caution of someone approaching a vending machine. He's coming this way, Vextal says, his voice climbing several octaves. Yeah, probably wants to say hello. Nixarian stalkers are pack animals, remember? He's trying to figure out where you fit in the social hierarchy. Where I fit, Vextal squeaks as Razor sits down directly in front of him and looks up expectantly. Well, you're not the alpha, that's obviously me. You're probably beta or gamma, depending on how he reads your threat level versus your utility to the pack. Razor makes a small chirping sound and extends one paw toward Vextal's boot. It's possibly the most non-threatening gesture in the universe, but Vextal jumps backward like he's been offered a live grenade. This is impossible, Dr. Kiranon mutters. Our entire understanding of interspecies dynamics, predator hierarchies, galactic threat assessments, it's all wrong. Not wrong, I correct gently, just incomplete. You've been studying the galaxy from the perspective of prey species, trying to understand predators. You never considered what it would look like from the predator's perspective. And that, my friends, is how a 4-month-old space tiger accidentally revolutionized galactic xenobiology by demonstrating that humans aren't just another species in the cosmic community. We're the apex predators, who decided that making friends was more fun than making enemies. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my newly expanded lab, watching Razor attempt to catch his own tail with all the fierce determination of someone trying to solve faster-than-light travel. He's gotten bigger in the short time he's been here, probably because someone keeps sneaking him extra food rations. That someone being me, obviously, because apparently I've fully embraced my role as the galaxy's most dangerous babysitter. The station has adapted to our new reality with the kind of flexible thinking that makes me proud to be part of this cosmic community. Assuming flexible thinking includes installing 17 additional safety protocols and requiring everyone to carry emergency beacons whenever they enter my lab. Commander Vextal still won't get within 10 feet of Razor, but he's stopped drawing his weapon every time the little guy yawns. So I call that progress. Dr. Kiranon has completely restructured the xenobiology department around what she's calling the Webb paradigm, which is simultaneously the most flattering and most terrifying thing anyone's ever named after me. Essentially, it boils down to this. If you want to understand a species, don't capture them in their worst moments and then act surprised when they behave badly. Revolutionary stuff, really. Dr. Webb, comes a familiar chittering voice from the lab entrance. I look up to see Kiranon hovering in the doorway, all 6 arms clutching various datapads and recording devices. Behind her lurks what appears to be half the station's scientific staff, all trying to look casual while obviously hoping to catch a glimpse of the ongoing miracle of interspecies cooperation. Morning, Kira. What's the latest crisis in our understanding of the universe? Actually, we have a request. She pauses, and I can practically hear the gears turning in her compound brain. The Galactic Research Council has approved our proposal for expanded predator studies. They want to send us more specimens. I raise an eyebrow, while Razor abandons his tail chasing to investigate a particularly fascinating dust mote. More specimens? What kind of specimens? Well, there's a juvenile Zarian night hunter that's been causing problems at Research Station Kepler 7. Apparently it won't stop trying to build nests in their computer systems. Then, there's a family of Altarian ridge stalkers that have been confiscating food shipments from cargo vessels, but only taking the desserts. Oh, and the vegan collective has asked us to take custody of something they're calling a doom puppy, though I suspect that's not its scientific classification. And let me guess, I say, scratching behind Razor's ears as he flops down next to my chair with the theatrical exhaustion of someone who's been very busy doing absolutely nothing. They all want the human to handle them? The success rate speaks for itself. Vextel's voice comes from the doorway, though he's careful to stay in the corridor. Word has spread throughout the scientific community about your methods. My methods being treat them like living beings instead of weapons of mass destruction? Exactly. It's completely revolutionary. Dr. Kiranan steps fully into the lab, her confidence clearly bolstered by 3 weeks of not being eaten. The preliminary reports are fascinating, Dr. Webb. Stress hormone levels in captured specimens drop by an average of 87% when handled using human protocols. Aggressive behaviors decrease by 92%. Social bonding increases by... Kira, they're less stressed because someone's finally being nice to them. You don't need statistics to explain kindness. But we do need statistics to convince the Galactic Council to restructure their entire approach to xenobiological research, she points out, which is unfortunately valid. Razor has apparently decided that this conversation is far less interesting than the possibility of getting more attention from me. He stands up, stretches in that way that cats do when they want everyone to know they're the most important thing in the room, and proceeds to climb directly onto my desk. This involves knocking over approximately half of my equipment, but he seems pleased with himself. So what you're telling me, I say, moving my coffee mug before it becomes a casualty of Razor's quest for optimal positioning, is that I'm now the galaxy's official dangerous creature whisperer. Director of Apex Predator Relations, Vextal corrects. It comes with a significant pay increase and your own research division. Plus, Dr. Kiranan adds excitedly, we're installing a specialized habitat section, climate-controlled environments, advanced medical facilities, recreational spaces designed for high-intelligence predator species. It'll be like a resort, except for creatures that could theoretically end civilizations. I look around the lab, taking in the collection of scientists who 3 weeks ago were convinced I was going to get them all killed, and who are now excited about the prospect of housing even more dangerous creatures. Razor has claimed the center of my desk as his personal throne, and is surveying his domain with the satisfaction of someone who has successfully trained an entire space station to cater to his needs. You know what the funny thing is? I say, giving Razor's head a gentle pat that makes him purr loud enough to rattle the equipment. 3 weeks ago, you were all terrified of me. Now you want me to collect more things for you to be terrified of. We were never terrified of you, Dr. Webb, Vexal protests from his safe distance. We were cautiously respectful. Vex, you once hid behind a potted plant because I asked you to help me move a box. It was a very large box. You could have been testing my reflexes. Dr. Kiranan makes that chittering sound that means she's amused but trying to maintain scientific dignity. The point is, Dr. Webb, we've learned something important about predator-prey relationships. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't the creature with the biggest teeth. It's the one that doesn't need to use them. And you know what? She's absolutely right. As I sit here in my lab, with a purring space tiger using my keyboard as a bed, and half the station's crew bringing me their most dangerous problems because they know I'll treat them with respect instead of fear, I realize that maybe being the apex predator isn't about being the strongest or the most aggressive. Maybe it's about being confident enough in your position that you can afford to be gentle. Razor stretches, yawns, and settles more comfortably on my desk, apparently deciding that this is where he belongs. And honestly, I can't argue with that logic. All right, I say, already mentally preparing for the chaos that's about to become my life. Send me the files on these new specimens. But I have one condition. Name it, Vextal says immediately. No more ridiculous names. The next person who calls something a doom puppy has to explain to it why that seemed like a good idea. Dr. Kiranan's compound eyes somehow managed to convey sheepishness. About that, the doom puppy was actually named by its previous handlers, after it kept trying to give them hugs. I stare at her. It's called a doom puppy because it's affectionate? Apparently, being hugged by a creature with retractable spines is considered an act of aggression by most species. Of course it is. I look down at Razor, who is now sprawled across my entire desk like he owns the place. Which, let's be honest, he probably does. Well, buddy, looks like you're about to get some friends. Think you can handle being part of a pack again? Razor opens one amber eye. looks at me with the kind of expression that clearly says, as long as the belly rubs continue, I'm flexible, and goes back to napping. And that's how I accidentally became the director of what is essentially a very dangerous petting zoo, staffed by scientists who are still convinced I might eat them at any moment, but are willing to risk it for the sake of advancing our understanding of the universe. Best job in the galaxy, honestly.